Well, hello, I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian Whistleblower, and I'm here today, welcome back to the channel, first of all, and I'm here today to ask you a question. Was Jesus a mystery school initiate? And perhaps a better question, and a more important question, was the Christ a mystery school initiate? I want you to subscribe, I want you to like, I want you to share. And without any further ado, we're going to ask this, we're going to get into this question. And it's a question by its very nature. Shows an advanced spiritual perception on the person of those that ask it. And I've been asked this many times from the great subscribers to this channel. It shows that y'all are a smart bunch. You are smarter than the average bears. No doubt about it. So let's take a look. Was Jesus, was the Christ, a mystery school initiate? Okay, folks, here we go with a fascinating question. Was Jesus a mystery school initiate? Was the Christ a mystery school initiate? I get asked this a lot, and like I said, it does indicate a high level of spiritual contemplation on the part of the person that asks it, because the person that asks such a question realizes that the "Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep" Bible version of Jesus or of the Christ is not entirely accurate. And we'll get to what I mean, the difference between Jesus and the Christ. And many of you that are listening to me or have been listening to me already know and understand that, but not every one of you has been listening to me. I find that hard to believe. But we're glad to have you with us here and now. So, was Jesus a mystery school initiate? No, Jesus was not a mystery school initiate for this reason. Jesus wasn't real and Jesus did not exist. Was the Christ a mystery school initiate? That's a whole different story. Now, somebody says, what do you mean Jesus did not exist? Well, let's go to my book, Final Message of the Last Apostle, and we're just going there because it synthesizes all the Greek, puts it in one spot, makes it easy for us to access it. Let's look at John chapter 1, and whether you believe in Jesus or whether you believe in the Christ, this is a seminal text that really encapsulates all of it. So, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Now, these words do take us back to Genesis 1:1, where it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. They are parallel passages, and John's speaking of the same time and place. So when we understand that John's saying that in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. Now that word God in the beginning in Genesis 1:1 is translated Elohim. It's not translated Elohim. That is the word. And it correctly means, according to Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, Hebrew 430. That's what that is. That's the Hebrew word 430. It shows that the word really means gods, plural gods, divine beings, male and female. And ancient wisdom states there were 7 Elohim, which certainly agrees with the plural rendering. And since we've been talking a lot of things lately around the Anunnaki, and in Sitchin terms, it's synonymous with the Anunnaki. Most likely, they're at least beings of the same sort. I'm still trying to sort out in my mind if the Anunnaki predated the Elohim, or if they are the same beings. Those are the things that keep Jeff Darty awake at night. Oh my. But John clearly shows us that the God of Genesis 1:1 and the God here of John 1:1 was actually gods, or divine godlike beings, and that more than one of them was present. And again, that's completely in line with Sitchin's work. It's completely in line with the Sumerian, and in fact, it's completely in line with every other great creation epic. The book of Genesis borrows liberally, that's a nice word for plagiarizes, from other religions. And the problems with understanding within Roman Christianity, be it Catholicism or Protestantism, is that you have a polytheistic base trying to be jammed into a monotheistic whole, and that creates all sorts of difficulties. Edgar Casey also spoke on this, and by the way, he was a devoted believer in the Bible. Eric von Daniken also writes on this in Chariots of the Gods. So for 2,000 years we've been force-fed logically deficient theories in an attempt to force pegs of clearly polytheistic language into monotheistic wholes. So the Bible writers were thoroughly conversant with worldwide literature. They were writing from a thoroughly polytheistic position. And it was only with monotheism, which came in about 1000 BC, Zoroastrianism and Judaism, that the linguistic chicanery started to infect the Bible and cause us to have all sorts of difficulties understanding. But back to the point at hand, and that was all necessary. Was Jesus, was the Christ, and for now we'll leave them as being the same person, although Jesus was not real, and you're about to see why here. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It means that it's the same exact thing, only not the same exact thing. So that means they're right there next to each other, plural gods, goddesses, judges, divine ones, male and female. So a true unbiased rendering of Genesis 1:1 is, in the beginning, the gods. And this just talks about some of my personal experience with the writings of Sitchin. But in the beginning there were a number of divine ones, and the Word was amongst them. That would be in John 1:1. And then John says the Word was God. So consistent in our to be consistent in translation, we'd say the Word was Elohim. And the Word was one of the gods pictured in Genesis 1:1. Again, I'm reading from Final Message of the Last Apostle. That's my book. You can get it for $1.99 if you want to get all this. I mean, that's a steal. You should expect to see red lights flashing in your mirror, your rearview mirror. So if the Word was an Elohim, then who was the Word? The Word became flesh, dwelt among us. We beheld His glory as of the only begotten of the inexpressible Father, full of grace and truth. And we all know and understand who became flesh, who was beheld by the apostles, and who was the only begotten of the inexpressible Father. Only one person fits that description. That would be Yeshua, Jesus, the Elohim, God of creation. And he decided for whatever reason to manifest himself into fleshly circumstances. He was a divine being. He was a son of an almighty God. And he was for a time with us in bodily form. Now, the thing that I really want to get to, and this just talks about the teaching of multiple gods, here's where we really want to zoom in, and here's where we really are addressing our current question specifically. Could Jesus or could the Christ have been a member of a mystery school, an initiate of a mystery school? Well, the Word became flesh. It says in the original Greek, He emerged and became, transitioning from one realm to another, into a human being. Greek, 4561, Strong's, Exhaustive Concordance, a New Testament words, a biblical words, actually. And the Word emerged, transitioned from one realm into another, becoming a human being. John tells us that the Elohim, called the Word, came from the realm of the Elohim into our realm. Listen to this. This is going to address your Jesus conundrum. It's actually going to create a Jesus conundrum for you. It's going to create a Jesus quandary for you. And this is a turning point in your life if you've always believed in the little baby Jesus lying in the manger, whether it's your Ricky Bobby little golden fleecy diapers Jesus, or whether it's the ninja wah Jesus of Ricky Bobby's kids, or whether it's the he was just a man with a beard of Ricky Bobby's father-in-law. I don't know who your Jesus is, but I'm getting ready to wreck him. And I say that in, you know, with a joke in my voice, but listen to this. The word used for come into a human being, G4561, Greek 4561. If you don't believe me, get out your Strong's exhaustive concordance of biblical words. What? You don't have one? Oh. Well, then you can go online to Bible Hub. What? You don't know what that is? Oh. Well, maybe you should check it out before you start hollering at me. The word G4561 is not the word for a baby. So if Jesus had come into the world in Bethlehem as a baby, John, who was fully versed in the Greek language, probably would have said, came as a baby. Didn't say he came as a baby. At first glance, from a strictly textual basis, we conclude that the word manifests as a full-grown man. We don't have any reason to believe anything else. What about the what about the Bethlehem stories? Do you know that the talk of the birth of Jesus as a baby makes up 0.666% of the New Testament? Take the number of New Testament verses, divide it by the number of verses that talk about the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem, less than 1%, and 0.666%. You like apples? How do you like them apples? They might be rotten. But at any rate, this person that was not a baby, a human being, pitched his tent, dwelt alongside us. Here's the Greek words again. I won't bore you with it. We beheld his glory, his manifestation, his splendor. The Word emerged, transitioning from one realm to another. It took on adult human form. He pitched his tent alongside us. We beheld his essential divine essence and saw the manifestation of the splendor of the gods. Wow. That's pretty stunning. Wow. That's pretty amazing. And let's look at this again. The word made means to come into being as. The word used for flesh is the word used for human. It's always applied. Always. Do you see that word? Not sometimes applied. Not most times applied. Not usually applied. Not maybe every now and then applied. It's always applied to a full-grown person. Never. Never, never, ever, never, ever, never, never, ever, never, ever, never, ever. Used to refer to a baby or even to a small child. Now, just in case you're wondering, if John had meant to say that the word came into being as a baby, he could have used baby or brephos, but he didn't. Well, that's none of my business. Do I look like Kermit the Frog? If he had meant infant, he could have used brephos. If he had meant baby, he could have used nephos. But he didn't. If he'd have meant young child, he could have used paidion. But he didn't. John pointedly avoided use of those words. John said man because John meant man. If John had meant to say that Jesus came as an infant, he would have said he came as an infant. If John meant to say the word came as a baby, he would have said the word baby. If he meant that the word came as a young child, he would have said a young child. He didn't. He didn't. And he did not. No, oh, no, I didn't. No, he didn't. He was a grown-ass man. And the word for dwelt among us, you see it there in the Strong's. It means to immediately enter into unbroken communication with. It means walk, talk, live, joke, dance, all of that. He came into the world being a fully grown man and immediately entered into unbroken communion with us. Wow. These passages clearly display apostolic opposition to the baby Jesus stories. It's the plain teaching of John that the Word came into this world as a fully grown man. It's also interesting to note that in the Quran, they say that the Christ spoke as a child. Is that an additional clue from Islamic writers that he came into the world speaking? The Word was made manifest and he was revealed. Oh my, what does it mean to be made manifest? What? To enter in, to walk, take steps, to show one fully. So unless you want to teach and believe that little baby Jesus got up and in his frilly golden diapers was doing the moonwalk, or maybe he was doing the can't touch this, unless you believe that, you got to believe John. Yeshua came to earth walking and talking. Was it a baby? A little bitty baby walking and talking? Hi, I'm baby Jesus. Doo, 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 doo. I'm walking and talking. Or was it a fully grown man? Come on. Come on. Come on. And let me just bring the hammer down. Among those born of women, there's never been one greater than John the Baptist. Gulp. That hurt. Among those born of women. Now, if you believe that Jesus or the Christ or Yeshua was born from Mary, Mary was a woman. If you believe Jesus was born from Mary, Mary was a woman, and yet the Bible says that there was no one ever born of a woman greater than John the Baptist. So, are you ready to tell me that John the Baptist was greater than Jesus? What? What? I can't hear you. What? Oh, man. I remember how that feels. I remember how that feels when that just hits you. But it could be worse, because let me tell you, when these things started hitting me, I was pastoring a church. I'm sitting on a chair the church paid for. Sitting in a room the church paid for. My stomach full of food the church paid for. Being warmed in a cold North Idaho winter by heat the church was paying for. My wife and kids, I could hear them upstairs. And the church was paying for them too. And I started seeing this stuff. I'm like, oh, good. What am I gonna do? So I feel for you, but it makes me laugh because I've been there, and I guarantee you that where you is ain't any better than where I was. John the Baptist is clearly not greater than Yeshua, the Christ. But both were born from women. So it's very simple and very easy. Yeshua, the Christ, was not born of a woman. And since Jesus was born as a baby, that's your first little clue that Jesus is fake. Now, I've got a whole section on this website, on this channel, and it's entitled Jesus Fallacies from Bethlehem to Revelation. Go there, look at those. It's 19, 20, 30 videos. Go there and look, and it will answer all your questions about Jesus. And I'm sorry, Ricky Bobby, I really am. It's probably worse than, it's probably got you praying to Tom Cruise's God. I'm so sorry. But coming back to, was Jesus a mystery school initiate? Well, now, that gives us something entirely new to think about, and it frames our discussion in an entirely new direction. So I said all that just to be able to say this. We had to set the table and show you that, was Jesus a mystery school initiate? Was the Christ a mystery school initiate? No, he was not. And here's why. If we take his sojourn in Judea as exemplary of his other sojourns, which I think there were, I think he went to a lot of different places. And he stayed a lot of those places like he did in Judea, 3-4 years. In those days especially, 3 or 4 years is not enough time to become initiate in a mystery school. Dude, after 3 years, you go in, I want to be in this mystery school. Okay. You get after 3 years, you're still shoveling up the donkey dung in the parking lot of the mystery school meeting. It takes a lot longer than 3 or 4 years to become initiate in any of the ancient mystery schools. Well then, Jeff, Mr. Smart Guy, how do you explain the fact that within the teachings of the Christ, there was a lot of elements that came from those mystery schools, elements only an initiate of those mystery schools could know? Knock, 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 is this thing on? Did you miss the part where we just proved that he was an Elohim? Where he was one of the gods? Now let me ask you, do you think that the Elohim had a handle on all of the teachings of human spirituality? Do you believe that the Elohim had a handle on all of the teachings of even of spirituality even beyond this planet? Do you think they had a working knowledge of it? I think it's safe to say that yes, they did. Now I believe, and remember I have 2 years of collegiate level anthropology and cultural geography, so I'm an amateur anthropologist to be sure, but I do understand and have a basic knowledge, an initiate's knowledge if you will, on how to study cultures and languages and movements and developments of ideas, because that's what anthropology and cultural geography actually are. And it's my considered belief that this guy over here, the Christ, it's my belief that he most likely came as an avatar to many different lands over a long, long time prior to his sojourn in Judea, from which his whole personage has coalesced and into what we understand today in the West. Now, it's also my belief that he, after he left Judea, went to some other places, and one of those likely places would have been the Americas. And we need to talk about Jesus, about the Christ in the Americas. He was definitely there. I think he was there after he left Jerusalem. Those things are hard to prove. That's why I think I can't show you Strong's exhaustive concordance for that. But while the Christ was never an initiate of any mystery schools, he's the brother that started the mystery schools, okay? He's the brother that started mystery itself, wisdom itself. He was one of the Elohim that started us. He started brains, and he started, more importantly, spirit. We have the spark of him, them in us. So was he a mystery school initiate? No. Didn't have time. And besides, he made the school. He made the school. Why would he be an initiate in it? That's why John, in particular, was able to write with great specificity about rites and knowledge that were only available to initiates within mystery traditions. Most specifically, I'm thinking of the Gnostic tradition. John wrote a lot of Gnostic. John was dropping Gnostic bombs left and right on us in his writings. And that's something else I should talk about. Gnostic writing and John. How did John know it? Because the Christ told him it. How did the Christ know it? Because he was the Christ, the Elohim. That's how he knew it. And that's how he could come to us and say, look, I'm bringing you the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to Father but by me. Roar! No, that's stupid. In the Greek, he said, I'm bringing you the best of all the ways of spirituality, both human and, I believe, beyond. I'm bringing you the best of all the truths of human spirituality, and I believe, beyond. And I'm giving it to you in a workable, followable, systematized methodology of spirituality that if you apply it in your lives, you can get back to the Father, the inexpressible one. You can get back into your next phase. You can get out of this meat suit and get back to your next phase in a single lifetime now. It doesn't have to take you 3, 4, 5 times. You can be like John Lennon. You can get off of that merry-go-round. You don't have to sit there and watch it go, watching the wheel. You can sit there and watch the wheel going round and round without being on the wheel going round and round and round. Now, I know that John Lennon wasn't a perfect guy, but he had some insight. And yeah, he did a lot of smack and stuff like that. Nobody's perfect, right? But the point is, the Christ was not a member of a mystery school. The Christ was the founder of all the wisdom that the mystery schools tried to incorporate and disseminate. Interesting stuff. Fascinating stuff. No baby Jesus. Well, he became an initiate because from the time that he was 12 in the temple all the way up till he was 32, he was never 12 in the temple. He came as a grown-ass man into this world. Not because Darty said it, but because John, the final apostle in his last message, said it. And he meant it. That's his story. And I'm sticking to it. Jeffrey Darty, Christian Whistleblower, unwind your mind, unindoctrinate yourself.